evening. My name is David Moore. I'm the police chief in Janesville. So I'd like to welcome you to the 2021 awards ceremony. But first, we have some honored guests here with us. And as I mention your name, if you could please stand and remain standing until we have a round of applause for all of you. Representing the Rock County Sheriff's Department, we have Chief Deputy Strauss and Captain Fell. If you guys could stand up for a moment. Representing the 911 Center, we have Director Kathy Sukas. Representing the Fire Department, we have Chief Pankauskas. Representing our chaplains, we have Chaplain Tim Hartley and Jack Fish. Representing our African American Liaison Committee, we have with us Ray Jewell. We have representing the Police and Fire Commission, Tim Lindow. And we have some retirees here with us. Retired Deputy Chief Steve Kopp. Recently retired Sergeant Brian Vaughn. Not so recently retired Officer Wayne Udlich is with us. And I think that's it. If I'm missing anybody, please point them out. Please have a round of applause for these folks. This evening is a night of reflection for our duties and offer appreciation of our employees and citizens. It's an opportunity to honor a few of the many dedicated employees at the Janesville Police Department and members of our community. I'd like you to think about the policing profession for a moment. We take young men and women fresh out of college, oftentimes not with a lot of life experiences. We hire them, we send them to the police academy for a few months. We bring them back to the police department and we do field training for a few months. And then we send them out into our community and we ask them to solve the most difficult problems our communities have to offer. These officers are alone all night long, working weekends out there by themselves, working on these problems. And oftentimes when they arrive on the scene, these officers know less than anybody else that's on the scene. And we look towards these officers to make crucial and immediate decisions. Some of those decisions have to do with life and death. And then we expect perfection. And the most amazing part of this story is that almost always our officers deliver that perfection. Tonight you'll meet some of those employees. This evening the department will also honor citizens and businesses that have supported the police department and the community. Police departments learned long ago that we can't go it alone and that we truly need community partners to allow our community to be safe. Every year our officers of the Janesville Police Department respond to tens of thousands of calls for service, traffic stops, citizen contacts, and other duties. Frequently, citizens from our community assist the officers with their responsibilities in a variety of ways. This year we're honoring 3 citizens who were selected and 5 businesses that were selected for these awards, and they help to support the mission of the police department and serve the community. In the next few minutes you will hear about heroics, assistance for our victims, concern for our community, and compassion. These are the examples and the type of dedication we see with our staff every day, every month, all year long. Now the officers that are recommended for acknowledgement to the awards committee will present the awards, and Deputy Chief Pearson will come up and explain the awards. Deputy Chief.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Just a brief explanation on how our accommodations are determined and how we get to where we're at today. The Award Commendation Committee is comprised of 7 selected members. There is an assigned administrative officer of the committee and 6 members assigned to 3-year terms. The current committee consists of myself as the chair, Lieutenant Michael Blazer, Sergeant Aaron Diamond, Officer Carl Mickelson, Officer Bradley Rao, Detective Thomas Beshen, and Records Clerk Jane Burr. So how does this work? Through the years, submissions for commendations are made. The committee will review all accommodations and will determine by majority vote what, if any type of commendation, excuse me, will be recommended to the chief. The recommendation to the chief is done in writing, which contains a summary of the nominee's actions. This is truly a process and not done by random selection or taken lightly by our department. These awards handed out today are held in high regard, and those receiving them truly have earned honorable recognition. The list of awards being handed out today are as follows: the Citizen Law Enforcement Award, the Business Law Enforcement Award, Problem-Oriented Policing Award, Exemplary Service Citation, Meritorious Service Citation, Distinguished Service Citation, Civilian Employee of the Year, the Award of Excellence, and Police Officer of the Year. Before presenting the awards, I will provide a description and the factors that define eligibility to receive the award. Without further ado, we will move on to the first award to be given out today. Today's first award is the Citizen Law Enforcement Service Award. This award is given to a citizen whose actions were beyond what is normally expected of a citizen. Factors considered include: 1, the assistance was given without regard to personal welfare. 2, the assistance had a direct and positive bearing on the outcome of the incident and contributed to the furtherance of law enforcement. And 3, the citizen's actions were responsible and intelligent. The first Citizen Award will be handed out today will go to Timothy Hopkins and Christine Hopkins. If they're present, they could please step forward and stand next to the chief, please. The Janesville Police Department is successful because of the high level of trust and community support we receive from the citizens. Timothy and Christine Hopkins represent 2 of our citizens who went above and beyond defining community support through their actions on August 28th, 2021 at 5:24 p.m. They took notice of suspicious activity near Columbus Circle and Glen Street. They saw a vehicle that looked almost like a squad car, black and white in color, appearing to have been spray painted with a spray can and driving slowly in the neighborhood. At about the same time, they noticed a person coming out of a garage and walking in the area. They knew this person was not from the neighborhood and was not supposed to be in that garage. They followed the suspect in an effort to monitor his activity and report information to responding officers. They found themselves at times running to keep watch. There came a point the suspect and Timothy had a confrontation. The suspect was being very evasive and clearly did not want anyone to know who he was or why he was there. Timothy was taking photos of the suspect and I believe videotaping as well. The suspect in response displayed a handgun. He then snatched Timothy's phone from his hand and threw it on the ground and broke it. The suspect then fled on foot. Responding officers were able to locate the suspect and take him into custody without incident. Timothy and Christine were able to aid in confirming officers had the right person in custody. The suspect was taken to jail on multiple charges. In addition, the suspicious vehicle was located in the nearby area. It was discovered the vehicle had been stolen from another jurisdiction. Also, another suspect was located and arrested, again on additional multiple charges. Timothy and Christine's efforts ensured 2 criminals were removed from the streets and not able to commit further crimes or injure anyone. This is a great example of team effort between a community and law enforcement working together, making Janesville a safe and desirable place to live. Thank you for your attention, your assistance, and for your dedication to our community. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. The next award will be a Citizen Law Enforcement Service Award, and the presenter is Deputy Chief Todd Kleisner.
Good evening, everybody. This award will be presented to Jason Schlimgen. Unfortunately, Jason could not be here with us tonight. On May 8th, 2021, the City of Janesville Parks employee Jason Schlimgen was working in the area of Baum Park when he saw a younger male holding a firearm. Mr. Schlimgen felt this was suspicious, so he called the 911 center to report this. Prior to officers arriving, the male suspect left the park westbound on a bicycle. Mr. Schlimgen provided a good clothing description, and officers quickly located the suspect over by the Dollar General store on West Court Street. The suspect was detained, and officers located a .40 caliber semi-auto handgun on his person. The suspect, a 17-year-old male, was arrested for several charges, and a dangerous weapon was removed from the street. The same individual was involved in several disturbances prior to this incident, and future calls involving this person could have escalated to him using the firearm. The Janesville Police Department commends you for acting on your suspicions and helping deter a potential of gun violence.
Moving on, the next awards that will be given out will be the Business Law Enforcement Service Award. This award is given to businesses that go above and beyond what is expected, excuse me again, of any business and their commitment and dedication to the City of Janesville, the Janesville Police Department, and law enforcement community as a whole. The first business award will be given out by presenter Lieutenant Mike Blazer.
Good evening. Do we have a representative from Blaine Supply here tonight? Okay. This award is being dedicated to Blaine Supply Farm and Fleet. If you can think back to the beginning of the pandemic, in the early part of 2020, we had a lot of challenges when it came to finding supplies to keep all of our frontline workers safe. And Farm and Fleet Blaine Supply has been a part of this community and really done a great job for us. So the citation, as we wrote it up, is Farm and Fleet got its start in Janesville in June of 1955. Claude and Bert Blaine were committed to the Janesville area. They were intent on providing a retail service for the community and the surrounding area that was focused on the hardworking customers in the Janesville area. Blaine Supply values have not changed and are present today just as much as they were 67 years ago. In March of 2020, the world was faced with this global pandemic that we're still experiencing today. It's been more than 24 months, and we're still counting our way through it. In those early days of the pandemic, we struggled with the police department to find PPE for our officers and for others in the community. In March of 21, Farm and Fleet Blaine Supply assisted the community with a donation event to locate hand sanitizer for frontline workers, which included the Janesville Fire Department, Janesville Police Department, and the Janesville School District. The police department itself received 1,200 hand pumps of hand sanitizer to help our officers stay safe. Blaine Supply helped sponsor the event and fulfill the needs of all those frontline workers, while at the same time managed to keep their own employees safe because their workers were frontline workers as well through the entire pandemic. Over the years, Blaine Supply has partnered with us for events like Shop with a Cop, and they have also sponsored their warehouse building for SWAT training, which was a multi-jurisdictional SWAT training while they still conducted business. Farm and Fleet Blaine Supply is part of Janesville, not just because they have a business here, but because they are part of the community. The dedication that Farm and Fleet brings to this community and the Janesville Police Department has enhanced our safety and the safety of the community, and we greatly appreciate their efforts.
The next presenter will be Officer Whitman.
Good evening, everybody. This business award goes to Nowlin Law. So myself and Officer Clements, who could not be here tonight, nominated Nowlin Law for the 2021 Business Award because of their generous donation of over $1,000 for the purchase of 90 copies of Dr. Kevin Gilmartin's book, The Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement offers insights on some of the burdens and personality changes that law enforcement officers and their families experience throughout a career in public service. The book offers a unique perspective on the climate of a profession which can be rewarding and engaging one minute and demoralizing and distant the next. Conversely, while recognizing these dualities, it also offers an individual time to reflect on their own personal welfare and well-being of family members. Copies of the book are available to all agencies throughout Rock County. With this distribution, Nowlin Law has assisted in creating a pathway to reach out to all law enforcement agencies, which can have a positive effect on the well-being of the families of the men and women who serve our community. Thank you, Nowlin Law.
The next Business Law Enforcement Service Award will be presented by Detective Justin Stubenik.
Good evening. So this project, when I tell you this, has been a project of mine. I see a lot of familiar faces, and Chief always tells me I got 2 minutes, so I've already wasted 20 seconds. But so I'm the range coordinator for the Janesville Police Department, and a project of mine that's been going on for 6 years is trying to get our officers equipped with red dot sights for their handguns. Without going down the rabbit hole of how cool that is, I can tell you that it greatly enhances our officers' ability not only to shoot accurately, but to make good decisions when situations get dynamic, right? If anybody's fired a handgun, they know it's extremely difficult when there's nothing coming back at you or there's nothing going on in the environment. And it gets even more difficult when there are those things happening. So Prent generously donated approximately $35,000 to the Janesville Police Department so that we could outfit all of our officers with a red dot sight for their pistol. That's significant not only for the reasons that I told you, increasing our officers' ability and community safety, but also it makes us the first agency in the state to do so. And recently we were the first agency in the state to send our officers to the academy with these red dot sights. So I have to say, on a personal level, thank you to Prent for letting us become the first in the state and also stay ahead of the curve and keep our officers and the community safe. Thank you.
The next award is still a Business Law Enforcement Service Award. Representatives from my apartment, Bar and Grill, Chuck and Patty Reynolds, and family. Tonight I get the privilege to be able to present this award to Chuck and Patty. The Janesville Police Department is proud to recognize My Apartment Pub and Grill with a Business Law Enforcement Service Award. My Apartment Pub and Grill is a smaller family-owned hometown Janesville restaurant owned and run by owners Patty and Chuck Reynolds. They have kind hearts and a deep love and respect for the Janesville Police Department and community as a whole. They persevered through the pandemic because their food and menu is great, and most importantly, they treat all those who come through their business doors like they are family, which in turn continues to bring back generation after generation. I personally know this because my family fills that restaurant pretty much every week. And I'm related to most of the city. In 2021, My Apartment Pub and Grill made a very generous donation of food to sponsor and support the Janesville Police Department's National Night Out. Their contribution aided in making the event a success and probably helped increase attendance. Let's be honest. When you offer food, attendance naturally goes up. We do live in Wisconsin and we do like our food, especially me. I know one thing to be true, that this is not the first time My Apartment Pub and Grill has made donations to sponsor public events in multiple different capacities. They frequently show community support through generous donations on a regular basis, including the Janesville Police Department in the past as well. Patty and Chuck, thank you for your support of the Janesville Police Department and the Janesville community. It is the unified team approach of Janesville businesses, the community, and educational systems that make Janesville a favorable and desirable place to live. Congratulations, and thank you both, Chuck and Patty. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, Chuck. Our next presenter has the nicest hair in the building. Officer Dan Schoonover. Good evening. Can I have the ladies from Sexual Assault Recovery Program come stand up here, please? So I nominated the Sexual Assault Recovery Program. They are an advocacy program that exists in the city of Janesville. They service all of Rock and Greene County. Anybody who's done any type of investigations in the room, I think, would agree that some of the worst ones to conduct are child crimes and sexual assaults. Domestics are up there. And Sexual Assault Recovery Program also partners with the Beloit Domestic Violence Shelter. It falls under their umbrella, so they kind of wear many hats. For the year of, for this year anyways, we would like to formally recognize the Sexual Assault Recovery Program for their efforts with survivors of sexual abuse in our city. Starting in the year of 2017, a new relationship was forged with them, and they've worked tirelessly and cooperatively with us and other partners to render aid and services for people in our community. Their efforts have made a direct impact on furtherance of cases and building stronger victims' witnesses through their support. They work closely with us on human trafficking efforts and have graciously taken over the privileges of hosting a multidisciplinary team that meets throughout the county. They have assisted countless times and with after hours with individuals providing rides, food, clothing, support, and even paying for transportation. I can say working a lot of these crimes, when we're looking to support, it becomes very difficult to separate the officer dynamic with the advocacy support. And having them as a role to take that over has clearly enhanced our ability to sustain and manage long-term relationships with victims and survivors. More recently, we've had some success in court cases where follow-through is something that they can do ahead of time. A story that kind of came up this year, we had a 15-year-old that was recovered in our city from the state of Connecticut. Non-English speaking young lady with an adult male at a hotel. When she was recovered, my first call was to Kelsey and the Sexual Assault Recovery Program, and they were involved from the beginning. It kind of happened at about 10 o'clock at night, and then I think at 9 o'clock in the morning, the final drop was done. We couldn't figure out how to get this young lady home, and Kelsey stood up and said, you know what, we're going to pay the $800 airfare, fly the mom from Connecticut to O'Hare. Their advocate drove her to O'Hare and handed her off to mom in the airport, and she was returned home. So that's just kind of an example of some of the things that they're capable of, and working with them is something that we're looking forward to for many years to come. Moving on, our next citation is a Problem-Oriented Policing Award. This award is given to any employee for their involvement in an innovative and effective problem-oriented policing project. The project should have achieved measurable success in resolving specific disorders or public safety problems faced by the police department and the community. Our Problem-Oriented Policing Award recipients is our Street Crimes Unit. All of the members are Sergeant Aaron Diamond. Come on up here. Where are you at? Come on up here. Officer Sean Mahaffey. Officer Lyle Hollingshead. Officer Matthew Zaborski. Officer Dan Pretty Hair Schoonover. And former Officer Benjamin Berman. I don't believe I saw him here today. As I read through this, I cannot see you not being impressed by the work that this office or this unit has done through 2021. It's awe-inspiring and impressive all the same. This is a very active, intelligent, effective unit that is making a difference for our community. The general consensus understanding when you hear the Street Crimes Unit mentioned is that it's a drug unit. They are a drug unit, our Street Crimes Unit focuses on more than just drugs. Today we recognize them with a Problem-Oriented Policing Award because the scope of their contributions to the Janesville community is much greater than only drug investigations. In addition to drug work, they investigate and contribute to the following: human trafficking investigations, and multi-jurisdictional case following, or investigations and following. The DEC program, our Drug Endangered Children program, or our DROP program, which is now working with our CIT program, our Crisis Intervention Team. Local and multi-jurisdictional traffic interdiction programs, warrant apprehensions, alcohol and tobacco violations, high visibility patrol efforts or targeted problem neighborhoods. They're a resource for our patrol units. They're a resource for our investigations unit. They monitor and track social media and internet investigations. They're members of our high-risk offender group. They're internal and external training. They provide internal and external training to the communities, schools, and businesses throughout the area. They work with the federal marshals with a warrant apprehension team. They investigate multiple bulk burglaries, robberies, and thefts. With that said, in 2021, SCU did what they do best. They get after it. They get it done, and they create fear in criminals of being apprehended. The amount seized in 2021 was the most in SCU's history since it was started in 2005. The total value of seizures by the Street Crimes Unit in 2021 was $464,033. I'll repeat that. $464,033 in drugs, cash, guns, and vehicle seizures. Also, gun seizures were at an all-time high. To give this perspective, the total amount of cash, property, and drugs seized by SCU from 2016 to 2020 was roughly $287,000. Again, they seized $464,033 in 1 year. Clearly, this reflects an active, well-trained, and focused unit. In 2021, SCU linked its efforts directly with patrol. They formed a unit made up of patrol officers who wanted to be proactive against drug and gun crimes. The Targeted Enforcement Team was created. SCU provided training to the patrol officers who became members of the Targeted Enforcement Team. This training will not only be useful when working with SCU operations, but will be useful when patrol officers are working their daily assignments. In 2021, SCU coordinated 4 targeted interdiction programs or operations that were highly productive. In each of these operations, guns and drugs were taken off of the streets and criminals were taken to jail. It's hard to measure the effect of crime that SCU had. It's hard to measure the effect on crime that SCU had in 2021, but there are several incidences that show they probably had a high level of impact based on the suspects they apprehended and or what they seized. Some of those examples are as follows. One case was a suspect wanted for nearly 6 months on a reckless homicide charge that stemmed from a drug overdose in 2020. During surveillance, SCU located the suspect's residence. They directed and coordinated patrol units to this location. The suspect was safely taken into custody and removed from the Janesville streets. Another case was a suspect who was harassing police and becoming a neighborhood nuisance. The suspect was a public safety concern based on his actions and comments. Members of SCU conducted an extensive investigation into the suspect and were able to draft a search warrant and have it signed by a judge. They organized the safest way to serve the warrant by planning a multi-jurisdictional operation. The operational plan resulted in the safe apprehension of the suspect. The ensuing search warrant investigation yielded drugs and guns. SCU did not end the investigation. They worked with federal authorities to aid in a successful prosecution of the suspect. Drug overdoses are taken seriously by our street crimes unit, but a lot of times they are hard to prosecute. In 2021, there were 2 suspects that came up on several overdoses and overdose deaths that we had investigated. SCU targeted one of the individuals and arrested him on drug charges. This suspect was responsible for 3 overdose deaths in our community. This arrest removed this suspect from the drug trade and stopped the threat to the community of Janesville. SCU targeted the second suspect responsible for multiple drug overdose deaths. They were able to develop a confidential informant that could purchase from the suspect. The suspect was identified as a Beloit resident. SCU worked jointly with Beloit Police Department Violent Crimes Interdiction Team, or called BSIT. As a result of the investigation, $89,000 in cash, over a kilo of methamphetamines, 4 ounces of crack cocaine, 3 ounces of fentanyl, and a firearm was seized. The suspect had an extensive criminal history and will be federally indicted. Other significant individual cases that led to multiple charges and large seizures were a suspect apprehended with 6 ounces of crack cocaine and 4 firearms. Another suspect apprehended had 27 ounces of crack cocaine, 2 pounds of marijuana, $37,000 in cash, and a firearm on him. Besides being proactive with drug and gun crimes, SCU also works on property crimes. In May 2021, a suspect stole a vehicle and went on a crime spree to include burglary and theft. SCU focused efforts on finding the suspect. He was located and safely taken into custody without incident. In September 2021, the same suspect did the same thing, and SCU located him again. They took him into custody without incident a second time. During the second investigation, they recovered and were able to return a significant amount of stolen property to their rightful owners. The suspect has been prosecuted and has been given a comfortable place to stay in the jail where he cannot commit any further crimes in our community now. Thank you, Rock County. The Janesville Police Department Street Crimes Unit sends a clear message to those involved in criminal activity. Don't come to Janesville and commit crime. You will get caught. SCU's efforts are admirable and deserve a high level of recognition for their efforts in 2021. Rest assured, if I know this unit well enough, they're not done. Thank you for your service, guys. Congratulations on receiving this award, and I'm proud to have been able to get a chance to read it to you. Thank you. Good job, guys. Your hair's not quite as nice as Dan's. The next citation is the Exemplary Service Citation. This award is given to any officer who performs an act of service which exemplifies the highest standards of the police profession and is beyond the normal expectation of duty. This award will consist of a plaque and solid blue colored merit bar to be worn on the uniform. Appropriate acts or actions or services include performance which demonstrates superior intelligence or effort which results in an important apprehension or solution to a crime. Performance or service which contributes significantly to the improvement of the department. Performance or service on or off duty which is deemed to be an important contribution to the community and enhance the image of the department. An accumulation of letter and commendations. The presenter of today's exemplary service citation is Lieutenant Mark Ratzlaff.
I've had the pleasure of supervising Jeff through most of his career in a lot of different disciplines, and I can tell you he's absolutely deserving of this award. Jeff A. Winarski was hired at the Janesville Police Department on January 17, 2011. Jeff comes to us by way of Beloit Township, where he worked for more than 6 years. In Jeff's first 11 years at the Janesville Police Department, he has accomplished a career's worth of work and become a significant contributor to the success of the organization. Jeff started on B shift patrol before moving to the street crimes unit and then to the core officer position where he is currently assigned. Jeff is a SWAT sniper, peer support specialist, CIT officer, mentor, DAT instructor, master DAT instructor, VDI instructor, ICAT instructor, vehicle contacts instructor, and a firearms armorer. Jeff is one of our core instructors for in-service training. His expertise in the area of defense and arrest tactics, firearms, and communication has elevated the level of training we provide. Officer-citizen outcomes have improved significantly with the training provided. Jeff assisted in the delivery of verbal defense and influence training to all of the Janesville Police Department staff. He also assisted with the county effort to provide VDI training to city staff, Mercy Health System staff, and Rock County Crisis staff. Recently, Jeff spoke at a nonprofit organization, BIG, to share the Janesville Police Department's communication training strategy. We rely on Jeff's expertise in DAT. He has become a valued resource for the Janesville Police Department when we review use of force cases. His expertise as an instructor provides valuable input when reviewing and evaluating officer use of force. Jeff is a strong leader and committed team member. His efforts with the peer support let officers know they are valued and have a resource when they need one. Jeff is a committed father of 3 and devoted husband to his very, very, very tolerant wife, Jenna. If anyone's Facebook friends with Jeff, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Jeff also coaches his son's athletic teams and runs his own business in his free time. The exemplary service citation requires superior intelligence, significant contribution to the improvement of the police department, or a significant contribution that enhances the image of the department. Jeff demonstrates his superior knowledge of tactics. He is improving our staff, both young and seasoned, in every training session he provides, and because of his dedication to training, our officers perform in the way that garners respect. His efforts encompass the meaning of the exemplary service citation. While Jeff was in the street crimes unit, starting early in January, he was assigned to the street crimes unit in January 2015 until May of 2020. While he was assigned to the street crimes unit, Jeff conducted a drug investigation, which started out as a typical investigation for narcotics offenses. However, Jeff continued to investigate this further and determined that the suspect was also involved in human trafficking. Early in 2018, Jeff identified several victims of human trafficking, which he tirelessly maintained contact with and tried to get them to give statements about this crime. As suspected, they were very hesitant, but Jeff continued to work and built rapport with these victims and was able to get statements from them. Jeff built a case that was later adopted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution. They just prosecuted and found Corey Herford guilty on all charges. This was an easy investigation. This stemmed about 4 years, and Jeff had to keep track and continue to build rapport and keep these victims interested in testifying for this prosecution to be a success. So for 4 years, he chased victims down and made sure they were able to testify. As stated, the case was adopted by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and Corey Herford's up for sentencing on May 12th and is facing 20 years to life for that investigation. Jeff, thank you for your service to the community and the police department and its members. Congratulations.
The next citation being given out is the Meritorious Service Citation. This award is given to any officer who performs an act of heroism or bravery which is laudable or extraordinary. This award will consist of a plaque and 2 colored section blue and white merit bar to be worn on the uniform. Factors to be considered include the act is performed with a high degree of risk of personal injury. The officer had full knowledge of the inherent danger existing and demonstrated unusual disregard for his or her personal safety. The officer's actions were beyond the normal hazards of duty. The officer's actions showed a high level of character and integrity. The presenter of today's Meritorious Service Citation Award is Lieutenant Mike Blazer.
Hi again. Can I have Jeremy Wiley, Ryan Jaremko, John Martini, and John Williams front and center, please? So before I read this citation, I just want to take a moment. I know that all 4 of these gentlemen have family and loved ones here with them tonight. And when I think about a call for service like this, we all very oftentimes think about their families. And I'd like to give the families a round of applause real quick. and just take a moment to thank you for loaning your significant other to us for the time that we take from your family every day for 8 hours. The other thing I want to share with you is what a call for service like this is before I read the citation. When a call for service like this comes in as a supervisor, you start thinking, what's going to happen, what's going to go well, what could go wrong, and how dangerous is this going to be. And I'll just tell you on the front side, when I know these 4 guys are on that call for service, my stress level is almost 0 because I know how they're going to perform. So I'll read the citation. I just want you to bear in mind how this thing unravels, and I think it'll make sense. So on November 20th at 6:48 p.m., officers were dispatched to 2807 West Court Street for an armed robbery complaint. The owner of Verk's liquor store located at this address called 911 to report his store was being robbed. Several officers responded to the area and the scene to work this crime scene. Officer John Williams heard the officers responding to the incident location, listened to the dispatch notes regarding the suspect vehicle. He recognized the registered owner's address, came back to an address in the city of Beloit, Wisconsin. Officer Williams began to patrol south on Center Avenue, looking for the vehicle and watching other gas stations as he patrolled actively, searching for the suspect. And this is really a measure of character, intelligence, and dedication to the job. Instead of going to where the call was, he moved to a direction where the call was going. When he got into the 1400 block of Center Avenue, he was approaching the mobile gas station. He saw a vehicle matching the suspect vehicle description. He pulled into the parking lot, saw a male suspect flee from the store and jump in the car. He confirmed this was a suspect from the robbery at the West Court Street address. John then initiated a vehicle pursuit. And this is when supervisors start thinking, where is this going to go? And again, my stress level was noted by how John performed that night. After he initiated the vehicle pursuit, he was concerned that the suspect had committed 2 robberies. He pursued the vehicle consistent with departmental policy, placing the safety of the community at the top of his priority list. He pursued the vehicle and gave clear, concise communications. He was very calm and detailed about the pursuit. The pursuit headed southbound, leaving Janesville. He directed Janesville patrol units in and out of the pursuit and coordinated resources from the Rock County Sheriff's Office and the Beloit Police Department as the pursuit advanced into Beloit. Officer Williams requested stop sticks, and during the deployment of those stop sticks, his vehicle was disabled by the same stop sticks. He stayed in pursuit until his vehicle could no longer continue, which is exactly where the pursuit ended. Officer Ryan Jaremko, you were the secondary vehicle in the pursuit and maintained a distance and responded as an effective backup officer. You were immediately ready to take over the pursuit when Officer Williams' vehicle was disabled. The pursuit came to a stop in Beloit, Wisconsin, with Officer Williams' vehicle coming to a stop right next to the suspect vehicle, which is not ideal with regard to officer safety. Officers Martini, Wiley, Jaremko were immediately at the aid of Officer Williams, who initiated the high-risk stop. Officer Martini, in your position on the stop, you communicated the need for a less lethal force option. Officer Martini requested a 40mm launcher as an alternative tool to help resolve the arrest. Officer Jaremko, you took a support position to the rear of Officer Williams. You maintained a clear visual on the driver and the suspect of the vehicle. You communicated with the other officers what you were able to see from inside the vehicle. Officer Jeremy Wiley, you advanced to Officer Martini's location, provide cover and communication to the suspects in the suspect vehicle. The proximity of your position to the suspect vehicle created a safety and tactical challenge for you. You directed both Officer Martini and yourself to the rear of Officer Williams' vehicle to provide some additional cover. During the course of this stop, several officers from RCSO and Beloit PD were on scene. This was a very high-risk, high-tense situation that required clear, concise communication. Officer Wiley, you gave that communication to the suspect about what was wanted from you for them to do. The male suspect eventually exited the vehicle before being told to do so in an abrupt manner, further escalating the stop. When the male exited the vehicle, he was holding a long silver pipe and racked it as if he was pumping a shotgun. He was trying to encourage the officers to shoot him at that point. Officer Jaremko, Martini, Wiley, and Williams, you communicated loudly and clearly to tase him, signifying this was not a gun. Your constant attention to the detail and commitment to training created an outcome that led to the arrest of the robbery suspect. Your patience, as the suspect tried to encourage you to deliver deadly force, was paramount in the outcome of this arrest. Officers Jaremko, Martini, Wiley, and Williams, you responded to a robbery that resulted in a second incident and a vehicle pursuit which carries a high degree of risk to you and your personal safety. You knew the dangers of this incident and weighed against the danger the suspect presented to the community. You performed in an environment that led you to the outside of the confines of Janesville, and due to Officer Williams' vehicle being disabled, you placed yourself closer to the suspect vehicle than is considered safe. When the suspect tried to force an officer-involved shooting, your character, your integrity, and your profession to law enforcement led to the successful arrest of the suspect. Your action provides substantial criteria for the award of meritorious service citation. And for you guys, I can just tell you how easy you make my job every day and make it very pleasurable to come to work. Thank you again.
All right, moving on to the Distinguished Service Citation. This award is the highest a police officer can receive. The award is given to any officer who performs an act of heroism or bravery in the face of risking grave personal injury or death. The award will consist of a plaque and a three-colored section blue, white, blue merit bar to be worn on the uniform. Factors to be considered include: 1, the officer's actions were responsible, intelligent, and necessary considering the circumstances. 2, the officer was fully cognizant of the high degree of risk to his or her own life, which would result from the actions taken. 3, the officer's actions were beyond the normal hazards of duty. And 4, the officer's actions exemplified the highest traditions of police service. Today's presenter of our Distinguished Service Citation is Sergeant Drew Severson.
Benny, Austin, Vice, come on up. I don't think Joe's here. Well, I don't share Lieutenant Blazer's enthusiasm about no stress, because this was my first month as a supervisor, so I was a little stressed out. But these guys did make it easy. They did a hell of a job. So on March 10th, 2021, at 3:08 a.m., Rock County Dispatch received a 911 call from a resident in the 2200 block in North Claremont Drive. Caller stated a neighboring residence was on fire and flames were visible on the exterior of the home. Multiple Janesville Police Department officers and Janesville Fire Department personnel responded to the scene. And obviously these guys were first on scene. And as I pulled up, this is what I observed unfold. So officers arrived on scene prior to the fire department's arrival. They located a very active fire on the southwest side of the residence, which was producing visible flames and thick black smoke. Reporting person yelled to arriving officers. 2 people were still inside the residence. Officer Roca used his flashlight and smashed the front glass window of the entry, or the door to the residence, front door. Upon doing so, Officer Roca observed an elderly female inside the residence. Officer Roca entered the home with Officers Mickeljohn, Wells, and Sanovich. The home was filled with smoke. A female resident told officers her husband was in a back room. Officer Roca observed the female attempting to go back in for belongings and convinced her to exit. Officer Roca carried the female from the residence outside to safety. She was escorted to an arriving ambulance. Officer Wells, Mickeljohn, and Sanovich continued a search of the residence. Officer Wells located an elderly male in the back bedroom. Officer Wells, Mickeljohn, and Sanovich assisted the elderly male to his feet and aided him through the smoke-filled residence out to an arriving ambulance. Officers successfully evacuated both elderly residents from the home as Janesville Fire Department units were arriving on scene. A reporting person who notified Rock County Dispatch about the fire contacted the police department the following day. Their comments were the officers had saved the residents' lives. Officers Roca, Wells, Sanovich, and Mickeljohn entered a burning building, smoke-filled home, placing themselves in danger to rescue 2 elderly people who otherwise may have not been able to get out of the home safely. Your performance is deeply appreciated and respected by the Janesville Police Department and Janesville community. Job well done.
The next award is the Civilian Employee of the Year Award. To be eligible for this award, the recipient must be nominated by a fellow employee or any sworn member of the department, or would have received letters of commendation throughout the year. The civilian employee selected will then represent the department for 1 year and will be recognized as the Civilian Employee of the Year by those authorized community organizations granting such awards. Today's presenter of the Civilian Employee of the Year Award is our Records Section Supervisor, Leslie Barr.
Good evening. I'm so pleased to present Rachel Anthony with the 2021 Civilian Employee of the Year Award. Rachel has been employed by the Janesville Police Department since 2019 as a second shift records clerk. During her time with the department, Rachel has certainly made a positive impact. Rachel is a motivated and dependable employee, arriving to work each day in a positive mood. She is quick to take initiative and often completes tasks that may be requested of her before the request is even made. Rachel has quickly become a go-to on her shift as a source of knowledge in the records division. Rachel excels in dealing with citizens both in person and on the phone. Records is often the first point of contact for upset, concerned, or inquisitive citizens who arrive at or call the Janesville Police Department, and Rachel always makes a positive first impression. Rachel answers questions knowledgeably and can de-escalate upset citizens with her calming presence. She handles all customer interactions with kindness and a true desire to help, even in trying situations. While dealing with continual changes at work these past 2 years, due to COVID and staffing, Rachel has kept a positive attitude and has continued to make improvements, specifically with our warrant processes. Rachel first became the backup warrant entry clerk in 2020 after only being employed for 1 year, in preparation of the retirement of another clerk. She then transitioned to the primary warrant entry clerk and has since trained 2 additional backups on first and third shift. To accomplish this, Rachel would either come in early or stay late to train the clerks with the least amount of disruption to the shifts. She has worked at the district attorney's office and other law enforcement agencies on unusual warrants and has become a resource for all the clerks. While these past years have undoubtedly been difficult for us all, Rachel faced great personal loss with the passing of her father in 2020 due to COVID-19. Her dedication to the Janesville Police Department could not have been more apparent as she returned to work as quickly as possible and with the same upbeat attitude as always. Her actions during that time were nothing short of courageous. Rachel's knowledge, attitude, and will to always do her best makes her quite deserving of receiving this award. She employs the mission of the Janesville Police Department and carries herself with pride, honor, courage, and respect. Rachel's dedication and work product is utterly respected and appreciated.
The next award is the Award of Excellence. This award is given by the Chief of Police to one sworn or civilian supervisor each year whose service or performance has been noteworthy and a significant contribution made to the department and or the community. Today's Award of Excellence presenter is Chief Moore.
If I could have Lieutenant Josh Norm come up here. Josh, we're gonna have to fix your photo because we still have Sergeant Stripes on your photo here for this. Come on over here to my left. So Lieutenant Norm has been with us since 2005. He currently supervises our third shift patrol officers. He has provided leadership for the department for many years. He's been a part of our safety committee, our accommodation committee, our street crimes unit. These awards are not foreign to Lieutenant Norm. He has received letters of appreciation, 2 problem-oriented policing awards, and 3 chief's commendations. The department's asked a lot of Lieutenant Norm. In 2021, we needed assistance with our community services division, and he stepped up and took care of that entire division, helping us out with training and a lot of outreach in 2021 and 2022. At the same time, our investigative division needed some help, and he moved over and assisted with the Detective Bureau while also working with the Community Services section and oversaw some major crimes in the community. Most impressive part, I think, is during COVID-19. Lieutenant Norm was very important in dividing our department into 7 different work areas. We had divided the department so our officers could stay safe from COVID, and he was instrumental in moving in very quick order 7 different police departments essentially. And right after that, he took over and led the calls for service reduction team. He had 5 officers responsible to him. They worked off-site, and they really dug down and looked for ways that we could be more efficient in the community and worked that for a number of months. Lieutenant Norm is a selfless leader and often puts service to the community before his own personal interests. And congratulations, Lieutenant Norm.
Hopefully we still have all your guys' attention. We're up to the last citation of the day. This one probably the most noteworthy of them, and this year's recipient is one of the best officers I've ever worked with. Police Officer of the Year Award, to be eligible for this award, and it goes to a sworn officer, must have received a department commendation throughout the year and or have been nominated for the award by another member of the department. The officer selected will represent the department for 1 year and will be recognized as the Officer of the Year by those authorized community organizations granting such awards. This year's presenter of the Police Officer of the Year Award is Detective Justin Stubidic.
Good evening again. So usually I try to go off the cuff, but I think I'm just going to stick to what I wrote for this one. I can't promise that, but this should be fun anyway. So tonight I have the distinct honor of introducing the Janesville Police Department 2021 Officer of the Year, Dennis the Captain. Dennis has given many years of service to the Janesville community. He started his career in 1992, and just as a side note, when I was in briefing this afternoon, I asked how many of our officers weren't born in 92, and there's a lot of hands that went up. So that just tells you where we're at, right? But during his years of service, he's played many roles in the Janesville Police Department. He started off as a patrol officer, where at least the way I've heard it, the legend is that he was called the Cobra. That might be a self-proclaimed name, but always coiled, ready to strike. He was a field training officer, SWAT operator, range instructor, and most recently a detective. In addition, he has served both the Janesville Professional Police Association and Wisconsin Professional Police Association in many different roles, including being the president of both organizations. During Dennis's career, he's been assigned to investigate some of the most difficult and horrific crimes that an officer or detective can imagine. For an officer, this might be a once or twice in a career occurrence, but for Dennis, it has been day in and day out responsibility, year after year, and he's always delivered. I would like to take this opportunity to share a couple of many noteworthy investigations that Dennis has led. In 2006, Dennis completed an investigation into an individual named Jeremy Shade. In this investigation, it eventually led to the discovery that he was in possession of 1,700 videos and 21,000 images of child pornography. In 2006, he was arrested, and eventually he was sentenced to 220 years in prison. So just let your mind wrap around that for a second, how many countless victims that Dennis has spared and also brought justice to. On another occasion, Dennis was part of an investigation that led to the arrest of an individual named Michael Huber, who was reported by the Janesville Gazette as being, quote, the worst sexual offender in the history of Rock County. Cobra got that one. So when the day came to bring Mr. Huber to justice, Dennis took the lead in entering this individual's residence during this search warrant. So again, as the legends say, Dennis breached the door with such force that the door flew across the room, and he was then dubbed the Obliterator. So as a result of that, after he was taken into custody, he was sentenced to 195 years in prison. And again, countless unknowing victims were spared in part to Dennis's efforts. So those are just a couple of many of the investigations that Dennis has been a part of. But again, I can't overemphasize his day in, day out professionalism and leadership for our organization. So in closing, I would say that, some people in their life, they get to a point where they reflect and they're going to wonder if they ever made an impact or a difference. So I'll take this opportunity to tell Dennis he won't have to wonder. Through his dedicated and determined service, he spared countless unknowing victims and given many others justice. So in closing, Dennis, I congratulate you on an exemplary career, and I personally appreciate you as a friend, mentor, and brother. So please join me in congratulating Dennis on his retirement, because today was his last day. So I disarmed him today, so he's harmless now. He got to see the Obliterator. But and his retirement from law enforcement. And I will say that if I can be half the detective that Dennis is, I'll count that as a successful career. So again, our 2021 Janesville Police Department Officer of the Year, Dennis the Captain.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight, especially our families and spouses. You're the ones that stand behind us and keep us all together, keep us working hard. So during these awards, did you hear the theme of empathy and caring? Empathy and caring, whether it was from our citizens, our businesses, our officers, our civilian staff. As a chief, I can't order that. That's something that comes from the heart and speaks to these person's character. I often speak about an author by the name of Michael Josephson. I'm going to read just a paragraph of his writing. I think it's appropriate for today. So he questioned what will matter? How will the value of your days be measured? And he writes, what will matter is not what you bought, what you built, not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, or sacrifice that enriched, empowered, or encouraged others to emulate your example. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but a matter of choice. So the people you've seen here tonight and that have been commended, they have made that choice to make a difference. I guess I'm not surprised that this year we had a 40-year low crime rate. And if you listen to the stories and you look at the people that we have in this room, whether it's civilian staff or if it's officers or if it's our businesses or our citizens, working collectively, that's what drives the crime rate down. Keeps our communities safe. Folks, thanks for coming tonight. Please congratulate all the award winners, and there's cookies and coffee in the back. So thanks, everybody.